What's up, my friend? Welcome back to the channel. Today, you and I are going to check out the HD version of the Mobula 6 Race Edition. It can do 1S freestyle or FPV racing indoors and outdoors. So we'll fly it today on the ELRS receiver. It's built in. It's an SPI receiver that's built right into the flight controller. And we're going to run the HDZero goggles that Emax sent me. These are the Transporter 2s. And I got to say a shout out to Emax for sending me these because I have somehow misplaced mine or let someone have them somewhere along the lines. But that was really kind of them to send us over this pair of goggles for this particular review. So yeah, 2 thumbs up to Emax for that. And now we can fly HDZero. I have quite a few quads to show you this month since it is Whoop season after all. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the flying. We're going to do some flying indoors. Then I'll take you outside and we'll see if this little guy will freestyle on a 1S 300 milliamp battery. Let's do it. Okay, my brothers, let's go ahead and do the indoor flight test with the little Mobula 6 Race Edition. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. I've got a 1S 300 milliamp battery on here. So we'll see how she does. So get her plugged in. I will show you something about my transporter goggles that I got from Emax. We have upgraded antennas and there is an SD card inside for recording the videos. It should be on auto record. So all right, we're recording now and I'm just going to go ahead and take off. We're going to get into the flying. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and take off now. I'm going to arm the quad. We are recording video and here we go. So I did notice a voltage drop on takeoff. You can probably see that. This is a brand new sub 250G 300 milliamp battery. And I'm just going to go ahead and get right into this. Try a little bit of speed flying through the house. And then we'll do some kind of slow controlled gap flying. You guys like slow controlled gaps, right? I know I do. All right. So I see why people like this quad. It has a nice tune on there. I don't feel any vibrations. The HD is nice on a Whoop. Like if you have never flown an HD Whoop before, you got to try it. So these Emax goggles were sent to me by Emax because I don't know what I did with my other pair. So I have a couple HDZero quads that I need to review for you guys. And Emax is such a cool supporter of the channel for so many years. I don't know if you guys know it, but yeah, I chopped the end of my finger off. And Emax paid for my medical bills because it was one of their quads, 3-inch quad. And, I couldn't find my HDZero goggles, and they sent me this pair to use so that I could show you guys quads like this. And this is not even their quad. This is, the Happymodel Mobula 6 Race HD. But this thing is ripping through here. So let's go ahead and let's try some proximity gaps. Let's go ahead and slow way down, and I'll show you how much it slows down. Okay, so the tune is really good, and I really kind of see why people like this little Whoop. I mean, HD, flies good, rips around the house. The goggles, the video here has a really nice quality. I see that digital breakup and stuff, but it's way better, nicer than traditional analog. Oh, almost hit something there. I'm just getting a feel for it. Let's come back around and let's do the chair gap right here. Oh, and we are down. So let's go ahead outside now and let's fly outside. We'll see how it freestyles. All right, guys, we're in the backyard. Let's go ahead and goggle up and let's take off and see how it does with acro mode in the backyard. So even though I'm using these upgraded antennas on my goggles for these HDZeros, you can kind of see how when I get away from myself, it does get pretty staticky in the backyard. I'm running 200 milliwatt, but let's go back here behind this tree and just see how it does. I mean, the breakup is, I would say it's worse back here than some of the other setups I've had that are analog. So, I mean, is that justifiable for, upgrading to this type of system? You might have to experiment with antennas and things like that. That's usually what has to be done when you get a new setup. But let's see if it'll power loop before we run out of battery. Let's go over here to our grapevines. Just punch her. Nice. Little split S. Uh-oh, bottomed out. See if we can get back up. Oh, nice. Back up in the air. I love it when that happens. But yeah, it's super quick. And we're doing some durability testing. Make me jump when I'm flying. I hate to hit stuff. Even though I get this crap for free, you know, it's never good when I break something. But again, like live review, you know, like I think if I could turn the VTX a little more power, I think it would do a lot better back here. Just had a little split S there over the grapevines. Back into a power loop. Wow, plenty of power way up there on that one. Oh, caught myself on that one. It's kind of hard to see that coming. So, I mean, there's some pros and cons to like this HDZero system. Some people like it, some people don't like it. I think it looks good. I'm just not quite used to the breakup. But this thing will freestyle, and it's fun in the backyard. If you're not as nearsighted as me, you'll have a better time with these goggles too, honestly. But they are a little bit small for glasses, so if you need glasses, like, you might want to find some other goggles that, let's see if I can take back off. Sweet. You might want to find some other goggles that will allow glasses to fit into them, as far as their HD system or analog or whatever. But now that it's completely covered in grass and schmutz, let's go ahead back to the bench now. And let's talk about this little quad before I really break it. Here we go. Guys, welcome back from the flight test. That was fun. I would say it's not perfect, but it is fun. 19.3 grams without a battery, a 1S 300 milliamp battery. This is an HV from Beta FPV. That brings us up to a total takeoff weight of 27.5 grams. All right, so this is the box that you get. Mobula6 Race HD Edition with ELRS 3.0 receiver built in. So let's open up the box and see what we get inside here. One thing I have to talk about as far as this quad is the price. Right before we really get into the meat of this, you need to know that this quad is $189. There does seem to be two versions of it. There is what they call the freestyle version, and then there's also the race version. And this is the race version. The freestyle version of this, even though you could freestyle both of these, the freestyle comes in at $199. So probably the most expensive Whoop to date. Quite expensive for something that only weighs about 19 grams. Inside the box, you also get some stickers. We got these two Happymodel stickers here with Express ELRS on there, two Happymodel logos. The little tiny Whoop itself is probably one of the most famous tiny Whoops, I don't know, in the FPV drone industry. It's the Mobula6, and we've, I wonder what version of this quad we're on now. It seems it's been around for at least 5 years and just getting progressively better over the years. So also in the box, you get an extra canopy for the camera, front to back. You also get some HQ props in here, and these are model 1.2, 0.9. 3 CPC, and they are 1mm shafts. So that's what you want to order if you're looking for these on the website. You also get a prop remover tool, some extra hardware, and a screwdriver in there for taking your canopies on and off, because they are held on by these tiny little screws. And honestly, I don't think it matters which version you get, because you could probably race either version, and you could also freestyle either version of this quad. So save yourself a little bit of money and get the race edition, and you'll still be able to freestyle in the backyard for about $10 cheaper. Now, if you're still here at this point, you're probably okay with the price point of this quad. I mean, it does have a lot of hype around it. People have called it a game changer. People have hailed it as the best tiny Whoop out there to date in the FPV industry. I mean, would I say it's the best out there? I would say no, but right up front, I think my overall rating for this quad would be somewhere around 4.5 stars. Taking off a little bit for how hot this quad gets once you plug in a 1S battery, it's unbelievably hot. It actually burnt my finger when I went to touch this board right here, just to check on how hot it was. So you want to watch out for temperature flying this in the summer, but in the winter it's going to be totally fine. I don't know that we've had brownouts with this one, but something to look out for in the hotter months, because with VTXs heating up too much, you can get a blackout on a VTX. So watch out for the warmer days. Now, in the winter we're totally fine, but it has some kind of issues with transmission in the very back part of our yard. So I'm gonna be totally honest about that. That's the other thing that kind of bothers me about this particular HD system. And again, I may need to experiment with my goggle antennas, but I do have very high quality long range type of antennas on there, and I will switch those out and play with those coming up in future videos. But for this one, it did seem to have some feedback, some interference, and some breakup in the backyard. But as far as the system goes, the FPV system, I mean, it's all right. I would say that HDZero is a great replacement and step up for an analog system. I do like it for that aspect. And it is a 65 millimeter whoop. It has that polypropylene type of frame. It's really kind of forgiving for beginners. You can see how much it flexes. And I crashed a good amount today because I'm just coming back from my family vacation for Thanksgiving. So I'm a little rusty on my flying. But I didn't come back with any broken parts on this frame. And I've done whoop reviews in the past where I broke stuff, and usually they break right up front, right about here. On the older Beta FPV frames, they were notorious for breaking. Many people may be familiar with the old Meteor 6.5 series, but this one, it's nice because you can crash it and bash it. It's definitely going to be a basher style tiny whoop. Now, it does not have plug and play motors like a lot of the more kind of beginner friendly all around frames. This one has solder points on the flight controller. So if you do burn out one of these motors, you're going to have to solder on a new motor to get your little guy back up in the air. And, one of the fun things about this quad is that it is super lightweight. It feels like it has a 10-to-1 power ratio. The power system on here is running a brand new special edition motor, and it's 0702, and they are 20,000 kV. Running these little tiny 65 millimeter props, they do have quite a bit of punch out and a lot of power and a lot of forgiveness coming around from those big power loops and things like that. It will split S, it will freestyle, and it will take a hit, which is cool. I didn't have anything pop off of the board at all. Everything still seems to be there intact, even though I got a little bit of grass and not a lot of moisture out there today. So one thing to think about with this particular whoop, if you're flying somewhere outside and there's snow on the ground, all of this right here is all exposed. So you could have an issue with a little water droplet kind of burning up something on your flight controller. So be conscious of where you're flying. Now, one of the cool things about this particular whoop is they've lightened it up a lot, and there's something that I noticed on this one that I didn't watch the other reviewers' reviews, but I did notice that if you flip this little whoop over, you can see that where the hardware is connecting through into the motor itself, you can see that they are little tiny Phillips head screws that go into the motor. So there's 3 on the bottom, and they are little tiny, tiny plastic screws. So they've taken away the extra weight of using little tiny steel screws, and they're still going to hold just as good, but they're going to be half of the weight. So they've even further lightened this quad up by making the hardware on the bottom of each motor some type of nylon or plastic, which is also pretty cool. And aside from a F411 flight controller, we have 5 amp ESCs on here. So it doesn't have like the largest ESCs in the world, but then again, you're only running a 1S battery on here. And the battery tray itself, it's small enough that it can hold a 300 milliamp battery pack, but probably not anything bigger. On the bottom, you can also see where it hooks up to Betaflight. And you can also see there's a tiny little ELRS SPI bind button. If you look around for this little copper coil right here, right underneath there and just behind here, you could use your bamboo skewer to press this little tiny button right there. You might not even be able to see it. It's not gold, it's silver on this particular flight controller, but once you press that, you'll start to see some LEDs flashing on the bottom, and then you can bind it up to, say, your ELRS box or another radio. It will pretty much bind up to any ELRS type of radio out there or module that's running anything 3.0 and higher. So it is an older version of an ELRS receiver firmware. So at the end of the day, I mean, let's get real. Is it like a huge game changer? In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. I think if you get it, you will enjoy it because it is durable. It flies really nice. It has really smooth tune, power. Power to weight ratio is great, and I would say that it's kind of addicting. It's one of these quads that I got that I just want to fly battery after battery after battery. And when there's a good power, good tune, and good durability, you you kind of end up wanting to just keep flying and flying and flying, and that's the fun thing. So the fun factor on this one's like 5 out of 5. The durability, I would definitely say, is 5 out of 5. The tune, 5 stars to Happymodel for the tune on here because it's really great. I do like the fact that they also have this BT compatible. It's BT 2.0 compatible, as well as with some of the other types of connectors out there. You just kind of get away with using this power connector for other types of batteries. So if you're looking for a multi-use, multi-purpose quad, it is on the higher end. I would say another star, a point star reduction would be probably the price of this. I think it's a little bit spendy. I would love to see HDZero whoops get down to like the $125 price point, but I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe some kind of flash sale for $150 would be really the price point that a lot of people would probably pull the trigger on this. But if you're getting the freestyle version for like $200, then yeah, hopefully we can find some cheaper prices for you out there on this one if that's an issue for you. But if not, grab one. I think you'll like it. So I'll put some links down below for this quad and some compatible batteries that you can fly with it. And yeah, also a pair of HDZero goggles that are very affordable from Emax, the Transporter 2 HDs. And again, like saying super big thanks to Emax for sending those, because without Emax, this review like wouldn't have been possible. So I really appreciate you guys at the Emax company. Thank you so much for supporting our channel. Emax USA, check them out in the link down below, and say thanks for supporting the Drone Camps channel, guys. I'm Justin Davis. Take care. This has been the Mobula 6 HD Race Edition. Pretty cool. A little pricey. I'll see you on the next one.